I'd love to encourage you to stick around to the end of this video by saying that the ending will shock you, but you won't be surprised at all. Belle Gunness was born Brynhild Polstetter Storseth in Selbu, Norway on November 11th, 1859. Her family lived as tenants on a small farm owned by the Storseth family. In 1881, at the age of 21, Brynhild left Norway and settled in Chicago, where she changed her name to Bella Peterson and worked for a time as a servant before getting married in 1884 to Mads Sorensen, who was also from Norway. For a time, the two of them shared a home in Chicago. Unfortunately, it burned down. But don't worry, they had insurance. And with the money they received from their fire insurance, they were able to buy a confectionery store at the corner of Grand Avenue and Elizabeth Street in Chicago. Guess what happened next? Their business, the confectionery, mysteriously caught fire. The end. Just kidding. And with the insurance money from that fire, they bought a new home in Austin, Illinois. Yeah, there's an Austin, Illinois. It seems as though the couple were unable to have children, so Mads and Bella took care of foster children. Tragically, two of these children died under Bella's care. Caroline died in 1869, and Alex died in 1898. Both of them apparently died from colitis, which someone pointed out many years after the fact that it could have been caused by poisoning. During this time, Mads, Bella's husband, had a life insurance policy, which Bella often complained was too small. So, after enough complaining from Bella, this genius took out another life insurance policy, a much larger one. And you may find this impossible to believe, but he mysteriously died soon after. Mads, in fact, magically died on the day that the two policies would overlap. In other words, before his old policy would end and after his new policy had started, which allowed Bella to collect on both policies. Because the neighbors were getting a little suspicious of these deaths, I can't imagine why, Bella took her 3 new foster children. Yes, you heard that right. Someone even smarter than her late husband actually gave this woman new foster children and used the insurance money to move to and buy a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. I mean, you gotta hand it to the lady. She was, if nothing else, financially responsible. So, Bella, Jenny, Myrtle, and Lucy all moved to LaPorte in November 1901. So in April 1902, Bella married Peter Gunness. You lucky devil, Peter. Peter was a widower with 2 daughters from his previous marriage. The youngest of his daughters would die within 1 week after his marriage to Bella. And 8 months after that, you'll never guess what happened. Peter too died of suspicious circumstances. Now from here, there's some conflicting information between the sources that I referenced. One source claims that Bella told authorities that Peter was accidentally hit in the back of the head by way of falling onto a sausage grinder. And they believed her. The other says that she told authorities he accidentally fell into a meat grinder and that the body was in such bad shape that the cause of death couldn't be determined. Both stories just as insane. Soon after Peter's death, Bella began submitting ads in 3 Norwegian language newspapers that were distributed throughout the Midwest at the time. These ads were asking for a good, strong, reliable man to become a partner with her in her farm. The number of men who would respond to this advertisement isn't exactly known. However, as you can imagine, not many men could resist such an offer. One of the visitors was Andrew Helgillian, a Norwegian farmer from Aberdeen, South Dakota. Bella had several hired men who helped her work on the farm over the years. Ray Lamphere was hired in August 1907. Ray was one of the people who had hoped to marry Bella and become a partner in her farm. Then in January 1908, Andrew Helgillian came to LaPorte to visit Bella for a couple of weeks. Ray became extremely jealous of Andrew, and after spending a couple weeks with Bella, Andrew contacted his bank and had money sent from Aberdeen to First National Bank in LaPorte. So one day, Bella and Andrew got in their wagon and went to the bank in LaPorte to withdraw Andrew's funds. And the people at the bank were like, "Look, this is a lot of money. Maybe you should keep some of it here in the bank." Andrew was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll just take a little now and leave the rest in an account here with this establishment." Bella, on the other hand, was like, "Nah, we'll take all of that, thank you very much." And Andrew, being the beta that he was like, "Okay, yeah, what she said." The next day, Andrew mysteriously disappeared and was never heard from again. Now, Andrew had a brother in South Dakota, Assel Helgillian. And one day, Assel was like, "Hey, Anyone heard from old Andy recently? But no one knew any more than Asle did. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his name right, by the way. It's Asle. Whatever. So Asle did some snooping, and eventually Asle came across letters from Bella to Andrew. So Asa wrote to Bella and even managed to get a hold of the bank in Laporte, inquiring about Andrew. The bank confirmed that Andrew had in fact been there recently, and Bella told Asle that Andrew had just up and left the farm one day. But remember Ray Lamphere? Well, approximately 1 month later from all this, Bella up and fired Ray and hired a guy named Joe Maxson as her new farmhand. Now, Ray's the guy who hoped to get married to Bella one day and was jealous of Andrew. Ray, let me tell you, man, getting fired was the best thing that could have possibly happened to you. Meanwhile, that pesky asshole Helgillian, brother of Andrew, was still writing to Bella, inquiring about his brother. So Bella, most likely feeling the heat and recognizing that the writing was on the wall, starts thinking. Alright, the wheels start turning. So Bella goes to her attorney's office and updates her will. The next morning on April 28th, 1908, at 4 a.m., Joe Maxson, her new farmhand, woke up to the smell of smoke. His living quarters must have been detached from the main house, because all I read was that Joe, after he saw that the house was on fire, tried frantically to wake Bella and her family. But without having any success, he then hurried into town and got the fire department. That afternoon, the bodies of the family were found among the ruins of the house, in the basement. The bodies of the 3 foster children were found next to a woman missing a head. It was presumed that that woman was Bella. Pretty soon after this, Asle showed up, hoping to learn something about his brother Andrew. But after not finding any clues in the ruins of the house, Joe Maxson and Asle began digging on a farm in an area where Bella once had Joe help her bury some garbage back in March. And tragically, it was there that they found the body of Andrew. The Laporte County Sheriff, Albert Smutzer, and a crew of people continued digging for several days and discovered at least 13 other bodies, meaning that there were most likely at least 20 victims that we know about. Now, news of this traveled fast, and thousands of people throughout the country actually showed up to watch them dig for more bodies on the Gunness farm. Now, sadly for Ray, because of his troubled past with Bella, Ray was arrested for arson and murder. He was put on trial in November of 1908 at the Laporte County Courthouse and found guilty of arson but not murder. The reason being is that without a head, no one could prove that the body found in the fire was actually Bella. Additionally, the headless body found there reportedly belonged to a woman who was much smaller than Bella. Like I said, you may not have been surprised by the way this story turned out, but what is surprising is that she got away with all this stuff for as long as she did, despite the mountain of evidence. And this during a time when you could get a conviction out of just about anyone for just about anything. Like being a witch, for example. That's something you don't often hear about regarding the witch hunts. And that is, during this period, it was embarrassingly easy to get away with murder. But piss off the wrong person, on the other hand, and you were all but guaranteed to be burned at the stake. This story gained national attention for a long period of time and came to be known as The Devil in the House on the Hill.